Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome to episode 131 of Show Tuesday. Happy Show Tuesday and Kanpai to everyone out there, wherever you happen to be. I am Christopher Pellegrini. With me, as always, is Stephen Lyman, and we are here to talk a little bit of shop, things that we've seen recently, places that we've been, people that we've met, and we're going to start off, I think, let's see. I don't I don't know if there's any booze news necessarily, other than the fact that yes, Japanese Fest, which we
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about last week,
Hmm.
is happening this weekend. And so if you're going to be in Tokyo this weekend, 17th and 18th, I believe, are the dates. There's two sessions each day, 3 hours per session, and I believe it's like 4,400 yen, if memory serves, in order to enter one of those sessions. And if you do so in Takadano Baba, which is on the on the west side of the Yamanote loop line, maybe at like 10 o'clock on the loop line, you will have access to a spirits from a number of distilleries, such as maybe you remember, Stephen. I don't really recall.
Oh, it's for example, Kanosuke whiskey will
Right.
be there. Uh, Yamamoto and Kagoshima shochu makers will be there. There's a long list with a bunch of people.
Yeah,
Eigashima,
Wakashio will be there.
yep,
Eigashima, yep.
yeah. Of course, the
So
big houses.
whiskey primarily, shochu secondarily, and then a
Some
bunch of distilleries that I
awamori,
wasn't familiar with.
a lot of
That's true.
awamori makers. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good chance to kind of get a sampling of lots of different Japanese spirits. Not just. It seems like a lot of the festivals are split up. Like it's a whiskey festival or it is a shochu festival.
They
This
do
is
that a
kind of a
lot, yeah.
nice combo, so you can get a little bit of everything. Um, and it's broken up into sessions, right? It's like a daytime or a morning session, afternoon session, which should keep the crowds down a little bit and also keep you from overindulging too much.
I hope so. Yeah, drink lots
Yeah.
of water, folks. If you happen to make it to one of these sessions, they tend to be they go sideways quick, as you
Yep.
can probably imagine. You'll see a lot of people kind of teetering around, a lot of really bright red faces, and so yeah,
Yep.
just
Yeah. But
take it easy.
I remember the Shochu festival we had in Fukuoka in July. There being an older gentleman who apparently was a little bit too excited and overindulged, and he was sitting quite forlorn in a chair, surrounded by staff who were trying to figure out what to do with this inebriated gentleman and how to get him out of the venue safely before there were any other concerns. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's you got to be careful. I mean, I remember
yeah.
this happens with sake festivals as well. Um, the joy of sake in New York City. Remember the first time that I went, I got a VIP ticket, which meant that I could be there for uh, an hour before the general admission started. And within that hour, there was a young woman who had indulged enough that she just face planted. Within an hour, she had tried enough sake, and there's like 1,000 sake there. Like, and you're getting a little tiny taste of everything. But she apparently was just running through it, and
Yeah.
I was looking past her, and then I caught the motion, and then I looked and I saw her just going, boom, right to the
Kabang.
ground, and her night was over. So yeah, you have to be careful with those things, right? So it's to experience and to taste, not to get
That's
ripped.
right. Sip slowly, sip honkaku. Let's try to and bring a buddy.
Yeah, right.
Bring a teammate to look after each other.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you're gonna be in town, that might be an option. And look up Japanese Fest
Hmm.
on online. In fact, I'll look it up and then we can put it
Yeah, I was
in
trying
the
to do that
notes.
while we were chatting,
Okay,
but
well,
it
I'll
didn't let
move
me
on
look.
to let's move on to the next
Cool.
card in the meantime so that we have something
Yep.
to talk about while I search. But
Absolutely.
the main event, Komatsu Shuzo in Saga. This is a place that Stephen and I have visited before
Yep.
separately. We descended upon the place together this time. A very small brewery, primarily sake brewery and distillery in northwestern Saga, northern Saga. I don't know. I'll let you take the
Probably.
floor here,
Sure.
Stephen.
Sure. I guess I'd call it Northern Saga. There's enough land off to the west to that warrant that it being central northern Saga. So Saga,
Mm.
for those of you not familiar, I think most other prefectures produce a lot more shochu in Kyushu. Saga has 22 sake breweries at last count and 12 shochu distilleries. So
Is it
pretty
12?
small
Okay.
production. When you're talking about, you've got 40 plus shochu distilleries in Fukuoka, Oita, the other northern prefectures. So Saga, I think the way that I think of Kyushu is Saga, Fukuoka, and Oita comprise the northern end of Kyushu, and Saga is by far the smallest producing region. It is where Mizu Shochu is made at Munimasa
Right.
Distillery in Arita City. Uh, Calling Arita City is generous. It's really more of a town, little bit above a village. But Arita is a nice area. That's where Mizu makes all of their expressions. All four of the brands that they've created have come from that distillery, and they're on the higher end of production volume for Saga Shochu, and
Hmm.
Komatsu is right there at the bottom. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're the smallest shochu producer, maybe even the smallest sake brewer in the prefecture. Very limited production. They make a wide variety of sake called the main brand is called Manle, and it's pretty striking packaging and quite popular with folks who are in the know on premium sake. And they're a tiny production team. It's just a few guys, a few ladies helping out. Um, they do. We took notes. I think they make 75, 72,000 liters of sake a year,
Hmm.
and that's just not very much. It might sound like a lot to us because nobody can drink that much in a lifetime, probably, but
You would definitely
it's
face plant. Yeah.
yeah, it's a small brewery. Everything handmade, both for their sake and their shochu. And the shochu they make is obviously, since they're a sake brewery, they focus on rice. They do have a rice shochu brand, a couple of sub expressions. But the reason we were there primarily, I think, for our interest was for their kastori shochu or sake lees shochu, which they do
Right.
make. And at risk of my newly opened being compromised, it's this guy here,
Yeah.
which says Ginjo Kastori Shochu Ochi. And it's a 21% alcohol. You can actually see the 21 right there. Oops, there it is. Which is that's an oddball ABV,
It really is.
right? Yeah, and I think he said that the shochu itself is about 35% at full strength. It's not it's not a big robust, 42, 44%. Like you get some rice shochus.
Right.
Um, and so it's I guess that's why he's bringing it down to 21. We we didn't really ask him why 21%, did we? I don't think we
No,
did.
we didn't actually.
Yeah,
We didn't have a chance to ask him. He was in full bore production, so
yeah,
we had limited FaceTime with Komatsu Shacho. But yeah, 30. I remember 35%. I remember
yeah,
400 koku on the year, so yeah,
yeah,
72,000 liters.
yeah.
And
This was the first time I think for both of us where we'd been uh, they'd agreed to our visit, um, which was very kind of them because they're in the middle of sake production. But then we basically spent about 3 hours just walking around
yeah.
unsupervised and looking at stuff and taking pictures and watching the staff do their work. And they did invite us into the koji muro, the koji room, to watch them do the tane koji, so putting the mold spores on the freshly steamed rice. We did
Hmm.
get to help them shovel a little bit of the rice out of the steamer. So a few little moments of activity for us, but otherwise, and there was no tour. I mean, it was just, you guys
Yeah.
know it, you guys have seen this before. Just stand out of get out of the way and
Yeah.
watch what we do. Because the
Hmm.
president was quite busy. Obviously, when you're running that small of a distillery or brewery, you've got lots of different things going on. They were bottling, they were labeling, they were capping, they were rushing orders out the door. They had customers walking in to buy bottles to take home, right
Yep.
from the brewery itself. And it was because they're a very, very local brand, right? And it had that old feeling. You hear about how the old sake or breweries or shochu distilleries would basically make it for the local people, and locals would just show up and take home what they needed to drink that night. And it had very much that feel. where people would come
Yeah.
in and they're just buying a bottle to have with dinner that night. So it was
It's a
it was
very, yeah, hands-on brewery and distillery. I mean,
mhm,
they do everything. There's very little mechanical stuff going on there other than, I suppose, the steam pump is, I get there's like dials and things on it, but otherwise everything's done by hand really, and it's
mhm,
a pretty labor-intensive endeavor every morning. Um, you know, the amount of physical labor that's involved is pretty intense, and it's not designed to prevent people from bending their backs and their knees and that sort of thing. It
mhm.
really is, you got to roll up your sleeves and get into it. So it was, yeah, it was, you're right. We were largely just milling about, observing, smelling. The light coming into that brewery is something else. The
Yep.
natural light comes through cracks and seams and crevices between the various very old buildings.
Mhm.
And it really was dramatic in many parts of the brewery. And yeah, kind of a singular experience in that sense. It was
Yep.
unique for all of us, I think,
Yep.
and a lot of fun. Like I said, we did get to sit down with the president, and who also he tag teams that he doesn't tag team. He is both the president and the Toji.
Mhm.
So he was working very hard most of the time that we were there, and yeah, like Steven said, we had a crack at the Kasatori Shochu. We also had a crack at something else that I don't know if we should, how much we should talk about this right now. Maybe we save this for the future, but they have another very interesting drink.
Yeah, I maybe we hold that one back for now.
Do we keep that one
Yeah,
in hand for a bit? That
yeah,
might be fun
maybe.
to reveal later.
Yeah, it's he does very interesting stuff. Um,
Yeah.
the yeah, Christopher's absolutely right. The atmosphere. I mean, it's a photographer's dream, right? If I was actually a professional photographer and I needed to shoot a sake brewery, this is exactly where I'd want to go. The light streaming
Hmm.
in, the sunlight come in the morning is just coming through these little cracks and vents in the ceiling and just shadow, setting light and shadow throughout on this all of this old equipment while these guys are running around doing their thing, and it was striking. So I think I posted one picture on Twitter on the Japan Distilled Twitter. You can have a look at get a preview of what it looks like. I think we will do a full Japan Distilled episode about it. We are planning uh, beginning very shortly to start doing distillery profile episodes. And now that we've got the photography and we just interviewed the Toji and president, they'll probably be one of our earlier episodes, and
Yeah,
you'll
good
see more
call.
see more stuff from them there. Um, what was
Mark
really
over
interesting,
on YouTube is like they have a
yep,
Sugidama outside. Yep, that's the one. Or that's
they
one
do,
of them. I think a lot of
yeah,
places do, but
yeah,
they do have a Sugidama, a pretty fresh one out front right now.
yeah. It was
Relatively
pretty
fresh.
green
It's
still.
still very green.
Yeah, they'll produce until April, so we caught them relatively early in the production season. Um, and they were working with a 68% polished Yamada Nishiki rice. So they were
Hmm.
making I believe they were making a Junmai. Um, um, smelled amazing. The steamed rice always
Yeah.
smelled great. We got to taste a little bit of the koji that had just been finished. It was very sweet. It lacked the acidity that we're used to for white and black koji.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
with
True.
the yellow koji is just really sweet, almost confectionery sweetness. And we tried his amazake, which was really good, which was the non-alcoholic sake that's basically koji water and rice, right? And
Yeah.
it's what is it? Otona no amazake, so adult
Yeah.
amazake for adults,
Adult
basically.
right.
And it's a little bit less sweet. It's got a nice balanced flavor. Some amazake can just be cloyingly sweet. So
Hmm.
and that was their welcome drink. They heated that up for us, and it was quite a nice way to enter the very cold distillery relatively early in the morning.
It was chilly in there. You're not kidding.
Yeah. Um, but the probably the most interesting thing for me, at risk of spoiling some of the episode we end up doing on it, is uh, he's very much a what's the word, like he's basically just keeping the flame for his family business.
Hmm.
There's no desire to become bigger, more famous, sell more product. I mean, they want to maintain what their sales have been,
Hmm.
but they're, this guy's not going to turn this into Asahi Shuzo with a Desai-like brand and build a 12-story production facility in
Right.
the farmland next to the brewery. He
Hmm.
feels like he's part of that community and he wants to maintain the harmony of that community by keeping his distillery and brewery the size that it's been for decades.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
and doesn't want to disrupt the local uh, environment, which is just really nice to hear. You know, there was nothing about him that made me think, oh, this guy's looking to, you know, break out and become big. And, you know, it's just a very refreshing, I guess, conversation to have. But
He said he was a seventh generation, I believe,
yep,
Toji
yep,
for
that's right.
the brewery. And yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
He's like, I just hope to pass this on to the next generation.
yeah. And
Um,
they only recently started making shochu. They started in 1985.
mhm.
Um, Before that, I guess they were using their leaves for other purposes, probably. But or maybe just somebody else was distilling them for them. But yeah, they make a rice shochu expression and they make a custody shochu expression. I have the bottle here. We didn't open it, and I unfortunately is in the other room. But they have a 10-year-old rice shochu, which I'm
Right. Yeah.
excited to try because, as I'm sure people are aware, Christopher and I are both fans of things that have a little bit of age on them when it comes to oddball shochu that you just find in these small places that and I mean, do you see any of his stuff up in Tokyo?
No. No.
Not his sake or his shochu.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Um,
This is
I
his shochu. I'll crack this later, but this is the shochu, and I've had
Ochi.
this Ochi. This is the rice shochu. I've had this around Fukuoka occasionally in a really nice sake or shochu focused izakaya. They might have a bottle of this.
Hmm.
Uh, like usually it's like a sake focused izakaya that has a tiny bit of shochu, but they're gonna get it from sake brewers because
Hmm.
it's like, oh, you like Monday, you should try their shochu if you're in the mood for spirits, kind of thing.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, I see his stuff around here a little bit, but yeah, you're right. It's really small. So
Hmm.
fun spot, and honestly, not hard to get to. If you're already in Karatsu, it's a train ride and then a less than 10-minute walk. And you can at least walk in and get and buy bottles.
Yeah.
They're open for business that way all the time. I'm not sure how open they would be to people walking in and asking for a tour,
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure they're gonna. They just give tours out willy-nilly. Everybody's got stuff to do. So
sure.
yeah,
Maybe not during brewing season, maybe in the off season, they're a little easier to get at least a
that's
walk through the
possible. Maybe.
facility.
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah, but
Yeah. All right. Komatsu Shuzo, definitely one to seek out if you are in Karatsu, and also a very cool town to be in for a while.
hmm
Just looking at the time, we've got a little bit of time left, so let's keep on keeping on here. What are we on to? Newly opened. I guess you already sort of talked about this, huh?
yeah, it's this Olchi Kastori Shochu, which is it's I think 21%. I'd be curious to taste it at a higher proof.
Mm-hmm.
Although we did when
We
we
worked
when
on
we
it.
when we did and you found you coined a new service style, which maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, so Stephen and I were visiting a friend who was staying at a ryokan in Karatsu, and we had dinner together. And the proprietors were very gracious in that they let us bring in that bottle of Kasatori Shochu that Stephen was showing
Yeah,
before.
that's why my
And
newly opened has about
newly opened, it's like new, almost a bottle kill.
yeah.
And so the three of us really put our backs into that bottle, and we were trying to find the right way to drink it. So of course we tried it straight. We tried it on the rocks. We tried it mizuwari. We tried it sodawari. And while obviously, as you would expect, when it's enjoyed neat, it really does have a lot of that ginjo quality to it. But if you do anything near even a 50-50 dilution, the shochu, like those ginjo notes get mauled. They get
hmm
overwhelmed. So we did, of course, we figured out very quickly that just a rocks glass that you let melt a little bit is almost perfect
hmm
because it becomes choi mizu. And we were like, this has to work with sparkling. So we kept on reducing the amount of sparkling water or whatever you want to call it, club soda in the mix until we got down to what was basically, you know, 5 or 6 parts Kastori Shochu and 1 part maybe of water or sparkling water. And so then
Mhm.
we ended up calling it choi mizu is just a little bit of water, so we called it choi tan. Tansan being actually have a empty bottle here. Tansan being essentially sparkling or club soda, and so yeah, choi tan is the new
Yeah,
word to use. Just a little bit of sparkling water on top, and it worked
yeah,
really well.
it
That's
did.
how
It was
it shined.
I liked it that way. I think yeah, and what's going to be great is next time you and I go into a shochu bar and we order choitan, people will be like, going to be like, you guys are dumb.
Hey, that's a new thing, man.
Yeah,
Choi tan. Here, I'm gonna put it in the chat. Choi tan is the what is it? I don't know. Is the new
it's a
rage
splash
here.
of soda is what it is, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a little bit. Oh, that was in the private chat, dummy. There's a private chat on here. I'll put it in the this will go out to all the good folks on Facebook and YouTube. Choi tan. There we go. So yeah, you heard it here first. I don't have a recently open because I'm not at home, as you can probably tell.
Yeah.
Um,
Christopher and I are having
but
a bonin kai tonight here in Fukuoka.
that is true.
Before he
Yeah,
heads back to Tokyo, we're gonna see a couple of good friends of ours,
yeah.
and I'm sure there'll
So
be news that comes out of that conversation.
yeah,
We
this
you know what
trip.
we were pretty active yesterday. It's completely unrelated to Japanese spirits, but yesterday we went and visited the new brewery for Fukuoka Craft up in
Yeah, that's right.
northern
We just
Fukuoka.
spent a crazy, just unexpected trip with a whole bunch of stuff rammed into it. Like I wasn't planning to come down here until almost 30 hours before I did.
Hmm.
So, but it's been very fortuitous. Got to
Yeah,
meet a lot of people that I didn't expect to see before the end of the year and made a lot of important decisions, which is nice. It's always nice when
yeah,
stuff's productive.
yeah, absolutely. And it's been a highly productive trip, and it's nice for me because I barely had to leave home, other than I guess the evening in the ryokan was about as far away I got. And
Yeah, driving us down there. So,
that was a long day driving. So
yep,
I earned that shochu at the end of the day.
yep.
But the new Fukuoka Craft Brewery is quite nice. They're just ramping up production. They've got they were a micro nano brewery right in Daimyo in central Fukuoka, and their brands had become so popular, and other bars and restaurants around the city were asking, can we buy your beer? They're like, we can't make enough. So they started having someone contract brew it for them that had a canning line, and they were sending it back to Fukuoka. And they were like, this is dumb. We needed our own proper brewery. So they went out and they raised investors from the local community, and they opened a very nice modern brew house up on a little piece of farmland in northern Fukuoka, up in Munakata area,
Yeah,
not far from the water, but just nestled between a couple of mountains.
yep.
Little valley road, but it's all farmland, and so you're just surrounded by rice fields, and then there's a winery up the street too. Like
Hmm.
it might become a burgeoning like alcohol producing region of Fukuoka, and they're going to have a tiny little tap room. They've got a little uh, dining room area overlooking the brewery. Through the window, you can see the action happening, and they got a roof deck. So if it's nice weather, you go sit outside and enjoy the nature around you. And they're going to be doing a lot of events. It sounds like a lot of weekends. I think they're only open weekends now um, for the tap room and the tours and things like that. But we got a special visit since we know some of the guys that are involved. Um, but yeah, good things happening in Fukuoka as always.
As always, yeah, that's to be expected. If you haven't been to Fukuoka recently, you should definitely get down here. It's always a delight. And I think with that, I guess we're gonna call it a day here. Because I don't have a newly open to contribute, and I didn't have any Fukuoka craft beer, which is a little weird. How did that happen?
Yeah, we left without any beer in hand.
Well, it wasn't open to be fair, so I guess
Yeah,
the
that's right.
till wasn't turned
It was
on,
just
but.
It's just a couple of the brewers that we know that were, happy to show us around, but yeah, they didn't have their cash register open. We couldn't even get into the tap room itself. That was locked up.
Yep.
Um, so, but it was still good to visit. I look forward to going back. They're planning on running shuttles, I think, from the nearby train station on the weekends, at least seasonally, because obviously there's a zero tolerance for drinking and driving here, and it's not
Wisely.
easy to get to. Not easy to get to.
It's out
And
there.
if you don't want to take a hike to their shiny new brewery, then go to their Daimyo Nano Brewery, which is still open. I think people are still in there making beer occasionally, and then they have a bunch of taps, and it's all Mexican food, which of course it is. So yeah, it's fun. It's a good spot.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, thank you, Stephen, and thank you everybody on Facebook and YouTube for joining us for the 131st episode of Show Tuesday. We will be back again next week for episode number 132, which I think will be the second to last episode of the year, if I'm
yep,
counting correctly. Is that correct? And to everybody
yeah.
out there all around the world, be safe and be happy and be healthy.
I got one thing.
And oh, go, do it.
Yeah, sorry. We are delinquent in our next Shochu episode. Sorry, Japan distilled episode.
Oh,
We
okay.
apologize for that. The reason for that is that we are interviewing a shochu maker on our next episode, and that interview will be happening this weekend, so we should be able to get that episode out next week. And the week after that is our AMA, Ask Us Anything. It will be our 50th episode of Japan Distilled, and we are open for questions. So please uh, contact us through DM or tweet at us, and we will answer your questions on the air in a couple of weeks. So cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, Kanpai, everybody. Take care. Be good. See you next week. Bye bye.